Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, August 16th, 2013. The big story is Egypt, and I got to give credit where credit is due for the USA Today. Here's their front page picture this week. Egypt erupts in chaos, and you couldn't get a better picture and a better headline to describe what's going on in Egypt. Egypt has descended into chaos, and the reason why is because of the military coup that removed President Morsi from power. President Morsi was backed by the Muslim Brotherhood, and the military and the Muslim Brotherhood are going at it. So far, 600 people, more than 600 people have been killed. Thousands have been injured. It is a colossal mess. The Muslim Brotherhood has vowed to remove and fight the Egyptian military, and to me it just looks like a good old-fashioned civil war with no end in sight. My prediction, it gets much worse before it gets any better whatsoever. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood is a political group, a minority, but they have a long history of violent acts. And going back to 1981, the former leader Anwar Sadat was murdered by the Muslim Brotherhood while watching a parade. Why was he murdered? Because a few years earlier, he signed a peace deal that ended hostilities with Israel. That peace deal, that treaty, is still in effect today. Now, the Israelis, they don't want to see aid stop. The U.S. will not recognize that it was a military coup. They want to call it something else. And the reason why is because any country, there's a law in the books in the U.S. that says any country that has a military coup that we're giving aid to, boom, the aid stops if it's a military coup. Now, the Israelis, they want that peace deal to keep going on. They've had a nice, peaceful border. The U.S. also wants to keep backing the Egyptian military, even though it's bloody, ugly conflict. That is a mess over there, and I'll tell you, when everybody was talking about the Arab Spring, remember that how wonderful it was going to be? It was going to be nirvana, a new age. Well, the Arab Spring has turned into an Arab nightmare, at least in Egypt. Meanwhile, the Israelis and Palestinians are at the peace table. But I'm not really excited about this. I just don't think they're going to come up with a peace plan this time after trying and trying and trying. There's just too many things that the Israelis and Palestinians differ on. I mean, sovereignty for Palestine, Israel's security at the borders is a big issue. Jerusalem is a huge issue, East Jerusalem. Settlements, Israeli settlements in occupied lands, also another thorny issue. And these talks started off by Israel agreeing to releasing Palestinian prisoners. There's going to be several waves of this, but the first wave released some people that committed heinous, grisly murders against Israelis. Some Israelis are upset about this. And this is the way the peace process is starting. Now, Secretary of State John Kerry has been pushing for this, and I hope this is successful. Israel deserves a peaceful state. The Palestinians deserve their own peaceful state. But I just fear what happens when they finally realize that this can't be settled peacefully. What happens then? The Obama administration has postponed another part of Obamacare. One of the things they postponed is the employer mandate, where you have to provide insurance. Companies have to provide insurance for employees if they have 50 or more employees. That got postponed to 2015. We're also on the honor system in terms of, taking a look at the eligibility requirements. They don't have enough people to check if you really should or really are eligible for Obamacare. They're just going to do it on the honor system. And now they have postponed the caps. Remember the Affordable Care Act? That's what Obamacare is called. But it's really the Affordable Care Act. And it's supposed to make things affordable. It's supposed to cap your out-of-pocket expenses. Things like, co-pays and deductibles. Now the insurance companies, they can charge whatever they want. They can let you pay these out-of-pocket expenses. They can make them as high as they deem necessary. Now, you think the insurance companies are a little worried about how this plan is rolling out? This thing hinges on young people going out and buying insurance for, $200, $300, $400 a month? Young people who are healthy, who probably won't use the insurance to subsidize the people who need cataracts and bone marrow transplants and cancer treatments and things like that. This really needs a lot of young people involved who aren't going to use it to subsidize the system. You think they're going to do it when they waive the pre-existing condition part of in America, where you can't be denied if you have a pre-existing condition? So if you get hurt or you get sick, you can just go buy insurance? You think young people are going to do that? I think the fine in 2014 is $95 for the year for not having it. Excuse me, the tax. You couple that with all the exemptions. You think young people are going to say, oh, sure, I want to pay my part? Let's see, the White House is exempt from this. The Justice Department, Eric Holder and his folks are exempt from this. Congress, the people that made the law, they're exempt from this. They don't have to do this. The IRS wants an exemption. A lot of unions got exemptions and big businesses. You know, Nancy Pelosi famously said, or infamously said, we have to vote for it to see what's in it. Well, a lot of people have seen what's in it, and they don't like it. And this is going to be big trouble for the Democrats in the 2014 midterm elections. That's my prediction. It's a disaster. I had one guest, Rick Ackerman, smart guy, who said, you got to wonder if this thing wasn't designed, so poorly that they wanted it to fail. No matter what it is, it's going to be a disaster and an economy killer. At the very least, it'll be a big drag in the economy. I think it'll be an economy killer in 2014. It's already killing the economy. Jesse Jackson Jr., my final story. I want to just bring this out. Jesse Jackson Jr. Has pled guilty. He admitted to misusing $750,000 in campaign funds. For this, he's going to spend 2.5 years in jail. This is a federal case. 2.5 years in jail. Jesse Jackson Jr. is the son of a famous civil rights leader, Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson Jr. was a congressman. I'd say pretty much a top political guy, right? If you're a congressman, you're at or near the top, right? You're not the dog catcher, the mayor, of a city. You're not a state senator. You're a U.S. congressman. It's pretty much at the top of the political food chain. Now, juxtapose that to top bankers in this country that have committed verifiable, well-documented ripoffs, crime, and fraud. And none of them have gone to jail. No top bankers. Oh, no, just fines. There's been securities fraud. There's been ratings fraud with LIBOR. $800 trillion of interest rates are set off LIBOR. There's been mortgage fraud, mortgage application fraud. There's been foreclosure fraud, forgery, and perjury to go along with that, and fraud on the court. All well documented. John Corzine was accused of taking $1 billion in segregated funds. Some people say he stole $1 billion. Oh, no crime for him either. No jail time, no criminal prosecution for him. But Jesse Jackson Jr., and hey, I'm not, hawking for Jesse Jackson Jr. He did the crime. He should do the time. But Jesse Jackson Jr. gets 2.5 years in prison, gets 30 months in prison for a crime that was less than $1 million. And bankers that committed trillions of dollars, at least hundreds of billions of dollars in crime, are walking. Some of these bankers, if he's spending 30 months in jail, some of these bankers ought to spend 30 years in jail. That's outrageous. Is the African community seeing how the Obama administration Justice Department is treating bankers and jailing Jesse Jackson Jr.? The bankers don't do any jail time, and a guy that commits a $750,000 crime is going to jail for 30 months? What's wrong with this picture? That's the way I see it. I want to thank you all for coming to the site and commenting. It's been a big week for comments here on the site, both good and not so good for some of the guests. I thank you for using the donations button. It helps us out defer costs. We have a lot of behind-the-scene costs with security and things like that we have to do. We thank you for your donations. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com, and have a nice weekend.